I always thought marriages collapsed in loud explosions. Slamming doors, screaming matches, nights spent on opposite sides of the bed, both waiting for the other to give in. Mine didn't. Mine crumbled slowly, like sand slipping between my fingers, and I didn't even notice until it was almost gone. My name is Daniel, and for 23 years, I believed I was the lucky man who had found his forever with Claire. Claire was my college sweetheart, the woman I swore would walk beside me through everything. We built a life together. 2 kids, a modest house in the suburbs, holiday traditions that felt like anchors in a drifting world. I thought we were steady. I thought we were safe. But the truth doesn't always crash into you at once. Sometimes it whispers, lurking just beneath the surface until the day it claws its way out, tearing everything apart. It started with a shoebox. Strange, right? A plain cardboard box hidden in the attic, tucked behind old photo albums. I was looking for winter coats when I found it, the corner of the lid peeking out like it was daring me to lift it. Inside, I discovered letters. Dozens of them, carefully folded, some yellowed with age. The handwriting wasn't mine. The first one I read was dated 20 years ago. Claire, I can't stop thinking about last night. You said it was the last time, but I don't believe you. I don't want to stop. I remember standing there, attic dust swirling in the air, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth. My hands shook as I read line after line, piecing together a truth so grotesque I wanted to rip the letters to shreds. But I couldn't. I had to know. It wasn't one mistake. It wasn't a fling she regretted. It was an affair. A hidden, ongoing relationship that spanned 2 decades of my life. Every letter carried a different date, like a grotesque calendar marking time by betrayal. I felt sick. My knees gave out, and I sat on the wooden floor staring at words I couldn't unread. She was with me, building a family, smiling in photographs, hosting barbecues, all while carrying this secret flame for another man. That night, I didn't confront her. Couldn't. I lay in bed beside her, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rhythm of her breath, wondering how many nights she had lied to me under this same roof. My body wanted to shake her awake, demand answers, but my mind was trapped in a fog of disbelief. The next morning, I watched her move through the kitchen like nothing was wrong. She poured coffee, kissed my cheek, and asked if I'd picked up milk. That kiss burned like acid on my skin. I started noticing things I had ignored before. The late nights she excused with work. The hushed phone calls where she'd step into the garage. The weekend conferences that somehow never included her colleagues when I asked. My brain had filed them away as quirks of adulthood. But now each memory resurfaced like evidence. And yet, for weeks I said nothing. I studied her like a stranger. I listened for slips in her voice. I searched for signs of guilt in her smile. She was flawless, calm, as though she had trained herself to live this double life without a flicker of shame. The breaking point came one Sunday afternoon. She left her phone on the counter while taking laundry upstairs. It buzzed. Normally, I respected her privacy. But that day, curiosity wasn't just curiosity, it was survival. The message was from a number saved under Michael. Same time next week? I can't stop missing you already. My chest tightened so violently I thought I was about to collapse. 20 years. This wasn't just history, it was still happening. When she came back downstairs, I was sitting at the table with her phone in my hand. For a second, she froze, and that tiny hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "Who's Michael?" I asked, my voice colder than I'd ever heard it. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Then, like a switch, she plastered on a smile. "Oh, he's just an old friend from work. You know how it is." I placed the phone on the table between us. I read the messages. The color drained from her face. She didn't run, didn't deny. She just sighed, as if she'd been carrying the weight for so long that being caught was almost a relief. And in that silence, I realized something that shattered me even more than the betrayal itself. She hadn't stopped because she didn't want to stop. I sat there in silence, staring at her, waiting for the storm of apologies or excuses that I thought would follow. But none came. Claire folded her arms. leaning against the counter as if I had just asked about the weather. "So, what now?" she finally said, her voice flat, almost detached. "What now?" The words nearly choked me. "You've been lying to me for 2 decades, and you stand there asking me what now?" She shrugged. "Daniel, it wasn't all lies. I loved you. I still do. But Michael, he was something I couldn't give up. It doesn't mean our life together wasn't real." Her calmness was more infuriating than any denial could have been. She spoke as if she were confessing to buying shoes she didn't need, not destroying the very foundation of our marriage. My hands clenched on the table until my knuckles turned white. "Loved me?" I spat. "You don't destroy someone you love for 20 years. You don't share my bed, raise my children, build a home with me, all while sneaking away to him." Her eyes flickered, but not with shame, more like annoyance. "You're being dramatic. I kept it quiet so it wouldn't hurt you. Why can't you just leave it in the past? We had a good life. Isn't that what matters?" My chest heaved. It was like staring at a stranger wearing my wife's face. She wasn't broken. She wasn't sorry. She was simply exposed, and she didn't even care. "Does he know?" I asked. "Does Michael know you've been playing house with me this whole time?" Her silence was my answer. That was the moment something inside me snapped, but not in rage, in clarity. I realized that no screaming, no begging, no demand for explanations would ever give me back what she'd taken. The woman I thought I married had died years ago, replaced by someone I never truly knew. I stood, my chair scraping the floor behind me. She flinched at the sound, not because she feared me, but because she feared the end of her charade. "Daniel," she said quickly, "don't do anything stupid. Think about the kids. Think about our family. Our family. The same family she had desecrated with her betrayal." My hands trembled, but my voice came out steady. "You've already destroyed that, Claire." Her eyes widened, just slightly, the first real crack in her composure. "What do you mean?" I looked at her for a long moment, my mind replaying every holiday, every anniversary, every quiet night on the couch when I believed we were happy. 2 decades of illusions, all dissolved into dust. Finally, I spoke the only words I had left for her. "You don't exist to me anymore." 7 words. That was all. But they landed with a finality that made her stagger back like she had been struck. I walked past her without another glance, through the front door and into the cool evening air. My heart was heavy, but in that weight was also freedom. For years, I had been living beside a stranger, clinging to a marriage that was nothing more than a stage play she directed behind my back. I didn't look back. Not once. The days that followed were a blur of paperwork, legal meetings, and long, difficult conversations with my children. They were old enough to know something was wrong, too young to understand all the reasons. I spared them the cruel details, but they saw enough to know who had chosen lies over love. Claire tried to reach out, texts, calls, emails, all filled with words like misunderstanding, history, regret, but none of it mattered. I had already buried the version of her I once loved. What remained was only a ghost, haunting a house I would never call home again. Friends asked if I wanted revenge, if I wanted to expose her, humiliate her the way she had humiliated me. But I didn't. Walking away was the sharpest blade I could ever wield. She wanted power, control, the comfort of having both her secret lover and her loyal husband. By leaving, I stripped her of both. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder how many moments of my life were stolen by her lies. How many smiles were false. How many I love yous were whispered with him still echoing in her mind. Those questions will never have answers, and I no longer seek them. All I know is this: love should make you feel whole, not hollow. It should be truth, not theater. And when I said those 7 words, I wasn't just ending a marriage. I was ending the illusion that had kept me prisoner for 2 decades. "You don't exist to me anymore." That was the last she ever heard from me.